Alrighty, I just wanted to do a bit of a series on how we actually learn, and for that I am down here at New Brighton, actually just near the skate park. I just wanted to start off with the first step in learning, and that is inspiration. You know, as human beings, we're constantly looking around at the world and particularly what other people are doing, and we're trying to figure out what is valuable to do, what is worthwhile, what's worth my time to actually be doing. And we start this at a very, very early age. I mean, babies, they are constantly looking around at the world and trying to figure out what adults are doing, for instance, and that's how we kind of learn to talk, is because that's what all the other adults are doing, and it seems to be meaningful, and it seems to be that this thing has a purpose and all those sorts of things. And so we want to be able to do that too, and so we start mimicking speech and things like that, and we do this right through our lives. And let's just use another example, like for instance me skateboarding. I started learning how to skateboard last year, but that interest was actually had been part of my life a lot earlier than that. So in primary school, I know that a lot of my friends were skateboarding at one stage, and we'd go out there at lunchtime and would skateboard around. I never owned a skateboard, and so that was very difficult for me to kind of get in on it, but I'd try to borrow someone else's as much as I could. Also things like, I remember there was a book I think called like Lassie. I think it's also a movie, but anyway, the guy in there, he's a skater guy, and anyway, I found that story for some reason really fascinating and really resonated with me, and he was a skater person, so I kind of wanted to learn how to skateboard. But then a lot of the rest of my life, there wasn't really anybody around who was also skateboarding or anything like that. It just wasn't really part of my life, so it never really happened. And then last year, some of my nephews and my sister started to learn to skateboard, and so I was like, oh wow, this is kind of interesting. I've always kind of wanted to, and I was trying it out a bit. And also the fact that we lived across from a school, which meant that there was a nice flat concreted area where I could practice, and eventually I bought myself a skateboard and started practicing and working on that. But exactly, it's those things around us that we're trying to constantly look around us and trying to figure out what is actually meaningful, what's purposeful in doing. And this can be in all sorts of things, especially in terms of even getting a job. You know, we're constantly looking around us at the people, and if the people around us are working and getting jobs, then that's something that we'll start wanting as well. If the people around us aren't getting jobs or aren't doing work or whatever, then exactly, we're not exactly that inspired to go and get it, because we're looking for those things which are meaningful and which to start mirroring and copying in our lives. So that's the first step, and you can kind of already hint at what might be the second step, but the first step is inspiration. And I know that this is kind of can also, I say inspiration in a very sort of positive sort of way, and I know that of course, you know, this concept can also be in more negative forms as well. For instance, we might say things like, well, it's actually, inspiration is just really equivalent to peer pressure or things like that, and it is kind of. Again, like, you might take what's more deemed as a socially negative example, for instance, take smoking. Again, if those people around us or the group that we're trying to get into or something like that, if they see smoking as meaningful and something that helps their lives, helps them to socialize and things like that, then we start wanting to do that as well. And so this applies to a lot of things, but I like to term it as inspiration.